We turn our attention to your personal finances. Dr. Roger Gievold is CEO of Fair Money, personal finance and credit expert. Joins me now. Dr. Roger, good morning.
Good morning, James.
Now, let's talk about a group of millionaires. Apparently, they say they're paying too little tax. Blimey.
Well, this has really got me steamed, I must say. You know, the question is, how do the rich get richer? Well, they get richer by having other people spend their money rather than their own. This group of the world's 100 richest people, headed by Abigail Disney, has pointed out that during the pandemic, their fortunes have all increased dramatically, whilst poverty has increased everywhere else. The solution, and they call themselves patriotic millionaires. The solution that Patriotic Millionaires UK has proposed, which is very noble, is a wealth tax on people with the net worth of £4 million equivalent upwards, and that if you have £4 million, you pay 2% annual wealth tax, and if you're a billionaire, you pay 5%. That's the top rank. Now, I just find this extraordinary because, you know, the proposal is that billionaires pay 2.5 times more tax than someone with £4 million of assets. And yet £1 billion is 250 times more than 4 million. I can't think of anything more grossly unfair.
Well, possibly, but you see, the way I look at it is, should we not be encouraging those with super wealth to do what the Victorians did, which was to invest in whether it's public and civic buildings or in infrastructure? I don't see any of that stuff going on, and yet that we have people who are perfectly able to invest in these extraordinary things, because we assume, I mean, say, for example, you go back to the railways. If you were super wealthy back in the Victorian times, you built a railway, or you built a building, or you built some infrastructure, or you did something. Whereas now there's nowhere for the rich and the wealthy to park their money, because we have a national health system, we have a national set of concert halls, and we have a national set of this, that, and the other. So we don't have the opportunity for the philanthropists to put their money where their mouth is, other than to tax them. And then the government's so inefficient and will probably waste the money anyway.
Well, I mean, that's spot on. You and I are saying exactly the same thing. I'm only concerned about the fact that they're applying the same thing to all the swabbies, dozens of decks below them on the money ship. What they said is that if everybody with £4 million and upwards were to pay this tax, it would generate £2 trillion a year of revenue for the government. But if the top 100,000 British rich people were to simply pay the tax at the higher level, that would give us almost £50 billion a year. And that would mean all the infrastructure things you're saying. It would also mean...
But if people are not paying... But hang on a second. If people are not paying the higher rate of tax, or if people are not paying what people think they should pay because they're avoiding it, it means that the rules are wrong. And this is one of the things I called for right at the beginning of the programme, which is very simple, which is the tax system needs to be simplified. It needs to be made more efficient, and we probably need to lower tax rates in order to raise more money, which means that you've got to have those political debates to explain to people why it is that when you reduce a tax rate, you actually increase the tax take.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely right. But remember, this is an international group, and it applies what they're saying to every country. This is what they've introduced at Davos, at the World Economic Forum. What I'm saying is that I think it's a brilliant, very noble proposal, but it should only apply to people who are seriously rich.
I think that's probably right. Now, let's just move on, because we're against the time clock, Roger. The BBC have announced 7 reasons why the cost of living is going up around the world this year. I'm sure you enjoyed them very much.
Yes, I mean, the reasons are all valid things, like goods shortages, shipping costs, rising wages, climate impact, etc. But, you know, I always kind of smile and get really grumpy when I hear these kind of things. The BBC is not exactly what you'd call an economic think tank, is it? Now, you've just added that Mr. Bailey from the Bank of England formerly has said, from the Bank of England currently has said the same thing. He's an illustrious individual, but, you know, we all know he's made mistakes and been wrong about calls he'd made in the past as well. Personally, I think, for what it's worth, that consumption and productivity unleashed once we're out of this pandemic will drive away a lot of these factors. And so I'm looking forward, God willing, at the end of the year, to see just how right these kind of predictions are.
Well, we can but wait and see. Just finally, almost in a word or two, but Japanese influencer Megumi Nakano, it's a bit Marie Kondo, but on steroids. Are the thrifty tips a bit too far?
Totally. She's sort of imitating this former nurse, has aspired to become an influencer. She's been very successful. She's going to make a great deal of money, but she espouses, at the time when the Japanese government is saying, please go out and spend, stimulate the economy, she's suggesting that people live on leftovers, shop as little as possible, and wear white T-shirts and jeans every day so as not to foolishly spend money on clothes.
Right. Well, I think we'll stick that where it doesn't shine anymore. There we go. Dr. Roger Geveld, thank you so much for joining us this morning here on Talk Radio. There we go. You've heard it from me and indeed from him.